close enough to 9 o'clock. We're going to get started. Call the meeting to order. I do have a red thing up here that says, please remind everybody that the meeting is being recorded and be on YouTube. So, introductions, I think everybody knows everybody here today. Any public comments? Any public comments? I have one that I'm going to put in right here. I just want to thank Lance and the staff for the program that they put on Tuesday night. I think you made Winona County very proud hosting it, and I applaud you guys on the work that was put into it, because for those of you that were there, Jerry, the staff did an outstanding job. And again, thank you.
It was tremendous.
Yep.
It was very well put together and well thought out and well displayed.
Any other public comments? Hearing none, the agenda.
Second.
Motion been made and second to approve the agenda. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Consent agenda.
Move approval.
Second.
Motion is made and second to approve the consent agenda. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Nay. Those opposed, nay. Motion carries. River watershed, one plan.
That's the grade packet.
I see entered, excuse me, 2018-19 plan, we're 44,000 in the red. That's just because the last of the,
The last 10% we don't get until we reconcile with Bowser
okay,
and it's spent. So if you want to do the treasurer's report, approve the treasurer's report, there's really no changes there.
okay. Is there a motion to do so?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion been made and seconded to approve the treasurer's report. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries.
So those balances in the black boxes reflect the payables that we're going to approve. So if you want to look at the payable sheet for 18 and 19 grants, that's on the inside. Payables are $8,168.26, and that brings us to 95% complete and about 5% left to spend. Of that 5%, $40,000 is cost share and $200 is in TA, and that all has to be spent by October 31st. We will probably have to do an amendment to our sub-agreement because we do have cover crop cost share. So we will be doing that probably in October.
Just because we can't pay out till maybe later on.
Well, till they
Actually do it. Right.
So, I'll check with the other ones, but I'm sure we're the only ones that have cover crop cost share. So I will be busy making sure we have this for 40,000 tonight.
So if we amend that, are we just gonna go to the end of the year, or what are we gonna do?
I suppose we'll have to because we usually go cancel.
'Cause sometimes they don't go till November.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so that's my plan with that one.
Okay.
So,
Do you want to discuss the 2020-21,
Yeah.
or do you want to vote on them separately?
No,
That's my
they're all
question.
together.
Okay.
So the 2021 is, River is asking us to approve payment on a partial payment contingent on their board meeting approving it at the same time today, because they don't want to have to carry 246,000. It's for, if you look on the detail in the back, it's for the Crooked Creek Watershed District, it's like a project. The total project is $636,000, and 60% of the cost share is coming from one watershed, one plan for $380,000, and Janice told me today that, it is 100% funded project with levy dollars for the other 40%. So,
They just don't have $250,000 laying under a pillow somewhere that
guess
they.
not.
Jerry, do you want to tell us a little bit about this project because it is so big? Or don't you know a lot about it? I know I was at that one meeting with you and they talked about it, but
Yeah, well, I guess there isn't a whole lot that I can tell you about it, except that it's just a huge erosion problem that's taken out township roads, or one township road in particular. I don't know if there's any county roads affected by it or not. I don't know what I can tell you other than it's just a huge excavating project to take care of it. It's a bad erosion spot that's been going on for years and just
Are they
getting worse
putting in
and
some
worse.
ways of holding the water back, or are they putting some, or what are they actually doing to hold for the water
That I
control?
couldn't tell you. We'll learn more about that when, they just got the final estimates in the last month as far as what it was gonna cost to do everything. And that had been changing as it went on. This has been, trying to be addressed for 2 years now. And the estimates would just keep growing and growing with the additional erosion and the changes in the plans that it was going to take to correct it. It's just a good thing that it's finally underway because it was going to get worse and worse.
Things don't snowball, do they?
Where's it at, down by Houston?
No, it's in the Crooked Creek Valley, more towards, what's that little restaurant? Little Miami, I think it's called. It's kind of in that territory, up over a hill from
It says
that.
Winnebago Township.
Yeah, eastern part of the county, east of Caledonia.
So there really hasn't been much work actually done?
No, well, I don't know if I think they've started now.
Okay.
Well, this
But
first.
just in the last month.
Yeah, they have started since July 1st, and they have done this, one pond and grass waterway for $246,000.
So that work's completing and that's what they're asking us
Yes.
to front the
I
money for.
actually have an invoice documenting this, that this part was complete.
It's a lot of excavating.
Must be a big pond if it's that much, $250,000.
It must be a flood control structure.
There's a lot more to
Yes.
it than that.
I'm pretty sure I know this.
Yeah, it was 35,000 cubic yards of fill.
Yeah, so it's probably like a
This one.
30-foot tall diameter. maybe more.
And I will make sure to get pictures and stuff for us, so we
Good.
can see what it's looking like too. And I'm sure there'll be lots of questions at, policy committee meeting too, with that big payment.
So the work is done, they're just asking for the money so they don't have to front it to pay, but there's more work to be done.
Yes.
That's the way I understand
And we
it.
can do partial payments.
Right, okay.
All that was cleared with Bowser, and invoices have been double checked, and, yeah, so I'm feeling comfortable.
I'll make a motion to move forward with payment for them.
Second.
okay. Excuse me. Motion is made and second to approve both payments. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Merchants Bank authorizing signatures.
So with Daryl leaving, we have to do all new signature cards at both banks, and I'm asking to add Jerry as a signer because Daryl was before, so that way I have 3 people to sign checks because I can't sign them because I create them. So then I would have Andy and Jerry and Josh to be able to sign with 2 signatures, and then I would be authorized to do the transfers to take the money out of the savings account into checking when we make payments.
So moved.
Second.
Motion was made and second to approve that. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay.
So nobody leave today until you give me like 10 signatures, all of you.
That's a threat.
Yeah.
Did that include that number 2, Darren, on that?
Yeah, that was
Okay.
all on.
So then we're moving to River, 1 watershed, 1 plan update.
So I'm not very good at this updating part. I'm just navigating my way through Daryl's spreadsheets, trying to make sure everything balances.
We'll be lenient with you today. It's your first official meeting.
So, we had one planning work group meeting that I kind of got my feet wet a little bit. This is the part that makes me nervous, because like, I don't know the details behind the projects.
Yep.
When did we go with this? So that's all for,
That's all right. Learn as we go.
Okay. Grants, agreements, contracts, and cost share contracts.
So that's the big spreadsheet. So first, we'll do the amendments first. First, we have 2 amendments. So last month, we did amendments to these same feedlot projects to extend their installation date because the grant got extended. So we went from July 31st to December 31st. And then in July, at the last board meeting, we also changed our cost share policy to get these feedlots more funding than $15,000. So that's what these 2 amendments are for, is to increase their cost share from $15,000 with another additional $12,500 for a total of $27,500 on both feedlot structures.
So did Dwayne just add a bunch, or?
No, that was an update from the engineer on the cost estimate. She was using an older spreadsheet from when we first started this in 2018. And inflation and everything that's going on now has brought that up.
A lot. It's crazy. Didn't really raise Dwayne's that much though, 7,000, so.
Well, Dwayne was able to find an additional 5,000 through the MAW QCP, so he's going through that process with Mark Rip now too.
Nice.
So that'll help him as well.
So if you don't have any questions on those amendments, we'll keep going and do a motion for all of this.
Yep.
Okay. So Lance, you wanna-
The new months first.
Oh, no.
Oh, sure.
You have those pictures of months.
Yeah.
So last meeting at the fair, you guys approved Jamie Munt's project.
You're gonna have to take the lights down.
So there's no action on this, it's more just a couple before pictures, couple after. I know Josh is pretty familiar with the farm, so if you go to the other, so the first one is the site on the south side of the road. And then you go to the next one. This is the big one, kind of just northwest of his dairy. That is a pretty big pool, and yeah, so then if you go ahead one more. So this would be the south side of the road again, so just showing a picture of the new dike, new pipe. Dale Thompson and his son were the contractors on it. They're out of St. Charles. Go to the next one.
Was this a repair or a new one?
Yeah, both repairs, but I mean,
Okay.
the first one was quite a bit of, quite almost a new one.
Almost start
It's
over.
as much as a dike, but yeah, it's a lot. This one is not the best picture, but this is that big pond that, to the north, so I don't know if there's any other pictures besides that one.
I think that.
Yeah, so it just kind of gives a flavor as far as, I would talk to Jamie like 3 weeks after, and he was quite happy. The bid he got from his contractor was slightly less, I believe, than ours. So he did his homework and got, I think, at least 2, if not 3 bids, and you know, it's always, we always encourage that, so. So that's more so just an update. So, let's see. The next one you wanna go to is.
Can you go back to that first picture,
Sure. This one or the,
the next one, I think it is?
yeah,
So, is that the top of the dike? or
that was the top of the dam, it's a 20-foot top, yeah.
Okay,
So when he redid it, the agreement was he had to fence it off and not have cattle go on
Yeah.
top.
Cause
Okay.
that's all, those row of pasture all through that.
Yeah,
yeah,
so,
okay, that's.
and it probably
that
was
would've
that
been
way
my question.
initially, it was probably that way initially, but, you know, it's a 40 or 50-year-old, maybe 60-year-old structure, and, you know, after 10 years, there's, you know, you're gonna do what you want with it, you know, we don't.
Did they clean the pond out? It looked like it filled in.
He did that, so we don't have any funds for that unless there's like a flood declaration, so he did, take some of it out and kind of, yeah, feather it back, but, not really that easy a material to work with. You know, if they do that, usually they like to stockpile it with a backhoe and then let it dry out for a year or two and then push it.
Basically gummy, you can't even get it out of the dump truck, it'll just hang there. you know?
Yeah, so somewhat, yes, legal, but, yeah. So-
And getting these ponds cleaned out and the funding for that's always been the issue.
Well, and there's not usually funding for it.
That's what I mean, it's, you
Yeah.
can't ever find the funding to clean them back out.
It's usually mostly an operation and maintenance thing is how it's, and they
Looked
do
at.
sign on that they'll clean it out if need be, or, you know, just like they keep cattle off and keep brush off it, so.
Yep.
Okay.
So that one was the past, so there's no action on that. The next one is, Gary Dunn, which would be, just this side of St. Charles off of Cherokee Road, just on the north side of the interstate, actually, kind of by Daryl's house, within about a half mile or a mile of that. So, very sandy site. I looked at it. Dave looked at it. I wasn't comfortable putting my signature on it because of that sand, because you know you try to establish seed or sod in that is no easy thing. So we had a guy that's done more of these harder sites come and say, well, we'll use blanket and do some alternative measures. So that's one picture. You can go to the next one. This is way upstream, but basically it's going to be taking those trees out, and the waterway essentially fills most of that valley. It's I think like a 60-foot top or something like that, maybe 70-foot top. It drains like 500 acres. There's what?
Is this site the one that you kicked that driveway all the way back
Yeah.
from the house back in the trees?
Yeah.
This property is in Minnesota Land Trust easement. You may need to clear this with them first.
Yeah. It's fine.
Okay. Just want to bring that to your attention.
So I don't know if there's any. Is there one more picture? Is that it?
That
There
was
was just
just all you have
Okay.
here. You've got a map though, I think, back. I've got to get back out here to get to the map though.
So like I said, there's two big watershed structures up above it. One actually Dennis Barth redid last, was it last year or the year before? Yeah. So Cherokee Road runs north-south on the east side of the picture there, map there. So, so there you can kind of see, one of the flood control structures on the far left-hand side where it says start at culvert. And there's one actually farther up too, so. Yeah, so that one, I think cost estimate was 12.3 on it. And so we're using a couple different funding sources, our local capacity of 7,500 and county allocation of 1,725. So that would bring him up to $9,225, which would be 75% of cost. And the plan is to have it, assuming you guys approve it, plan is to get it done in the next 2 weeks. So, because after September 1, it becomes pretty risky to try to put a waterway in to get a good sod. And I talked to him yesterday, and I said, even if you get it done, plan on having to probably reshape it in spring and reseed, but that's just part of the deal.
Yeah.
So I don't know if there's any questions on that one.
That's just mostly heavy erosion, it's just ditching, gullying out, or what's it doing?
Yeah, there's like 2 to 4 foot gullies all the way through it. Frankly, it's a tough site because it's so sandy.
Well, so I was wondering, was rock looked at instead, just rocking it out rather than?
You could, but I mean, you'd be at 100 grand.
Yeah.
I mean, rock is not cheap, so, yeah.
But even if they did
looked at
like
a
rock
couple-
diversion, like rock.
Yeah,
Is there some way
checks
of
or
putting
whatever.
a pond, a diversion earth to slow that water down on the upper end there?
Well, there is one actually.
There is.
There's one just on the left hand,
Where that start at Culver?
yeah, right above where it says start. There's an actual that's a big structure, and there's like a 24-inch pipe on it. So it does neck it down probably by at least half.
So even if this doesn't work, it doesn't take, they could always, it's the cheapest way to use more taxpayer money to try to stop it. If it doesn't work, they might have to go to Plan B or something.
Right, and they could come back to us and, we could
Look at it.
entertain, different type of matting or like the logs, like the sediment logs or straw logs, but typically we don't like to start on matting because that inflates the cost pretty
Costs so
quick.
much.
So
How many acres, watershed?
I think it's like 500,
500
500.
coming through there.
I'd have to look. But, yeah. I mean, it's basically everything on the west or the north side of the interstate there. Between there and like the golf course that kind of sheds down through there. So.
Okay.
And I'm sure when they put the interstate in, it changed years
Oh.
ago, all the natural landscape, and this just became the drainage point now, when they built that all up, because that's all built up through there from the interstate, because it used to be a gully, and I think they filled that whole thing in.
Yeah, that stretch, you're right, I think.
Yeah.
Did that problem, Lance, contribute to the mudding of the streets in St. Charles this spring?
No,
No,
this is
that's
just-
from a different
this is
spot.
east,
Yeah, this is way east of that.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to approve all the above, I guess.
Second.
Motion been made and second to approve these. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. New business, supervisor per diem policy. I do believe that they changed it and we can go up to $125
Per day,
per day.
effective August 1st, if you so choose.
So what are your guys' thoughts?
I make a motion to accept the increase of payment,
To what amount?
125.
Okay.
I'll second it.
124.
The motion is made and second to raise it to 125. Any further discussion?
I've been on the board here for, I don't know how many years, and this is the first increase we've had. Was it 50? Maybe it was 50 when I started, I can't.
Yeah, that sounds like it.
Yeah, because a couple of years ago, you guys were able to go up to 75, and that was the
Okay.
max at the time.
Now it's, yeah.
Careful, you might be dating yourself.
Back in '06.
I think I got on
Jerry?
in 2009,
Yeah.
I think.
I agree that it wasn't enough for this type meeting prior, and my thoughts were, we raised it to 75 already a while ago. I thought we could go up to 100 or maybe the full 125 for the board meetings, and then for everything else, stay at the 75 or raise it to some if you wanted to. But
I think that-
finances have been a problem for a long time.
I
and-
think that would be kind of a good idea if we have a short, that, we always had a two-tier
Yeah.
meeting. If we had like, come in to sign, or do something, or I'm short, we had one of those,
It used to be if it was under 2 hours.
yeah,
Sorry, it was $40.
Yeah.
we could maybe
It-
follow that plan.
See, I don't ever charge if I gotta stop by or sign or do anything for those types of things. The only time
I'm sorry, Jack.
I don't ever put down if I have to stop in and sign or do anything like that. I don't ever even record that. So
Right, yeah.
that's just part of it, I think, but yeah.
Mhm.
I kinda figure a meeting is a meeting. If I gotta take time off and figure out and drive and do everything else, it just is what it is. Whether it's 2 hours or 4 hours, it's still, it's a half a day, no matter what you do. So,
That's true.
yeah.
I've been just kind of thinking about our bottom line, which has been kind of bleak for a long time. I don't know, do we have the money to pay that for all our meetings?
If we took, let's just figure it out. We have, on average, probably 2 meetings a month per person, let's just call it that.
It's usually, you could figure 5 per month. That's
5 meetings.
Per person per month. It's usually 3 for sure, start with 3. 3 for sure,
No, I usually have 1.
3.
And I
Oh,
have,
per month, I'm doing per quarter, so.
yeah. So if we
I'm
took,
thinking in quarters, because that's how I think about you guys, so.
yeah, so even at 2 meetings a month per person times 5, which is probably not realistic, 1.5 times 5 times 50, you're looking at $375 a month. That's what it's at. So take that times 12, so we're looking at about, on average, $4,500 a year.
I don't have the budget in my head right now, so I can't answer that question, but
I do.
you do?
Yeah. I mean, it's technically nothing in our, I mean, we already had to revamp our budget based on what we were doing. The monies aren't technically there for anything, for a lot of different things, because technically we're moving and robbing from Peter to pay Paul and making some assumptions. So I don't remember, though, if we had factored in for that, because we knew it was coming.
I don't.
And
think
that's
we
just,
factored in for it.
I don't think we
Oh, I don't
factored.
think we did.
Yeah. So.
I'll put my 2 cents worth in.
I don't know how complicated we want to make it.
I did talk to a couple of you guys, and I don't remember which ones for sure, but we had the discussion, we thought maybe going to 100, and then down the road, go to the 125. The other thing is I know I hear a few comments about some of these short meetings, but then when you throw in like our annual meeting in the cities, day at the Capitol, our district meetings that are all day,
Kind of evens out.
it kind of averages all out. So
That's the way
whatever
I see it.
number you guys agree on, I think we should use that for everything because of it averages out over the
And
year.
it just makes it a lot simpler from
Simpler.
the administrative
Yeah.
side. This is all law, this is all averages. We really just got to look at the upfront cost of what it's going
Yeah.
to be. So keeping it relatively simple, and
Do I have a second?
it's already been motioned and
It's all right.
seconded, so
Yeah.
we're just on
We can
discussion.
amend it if we
Yeah,
want to, but
if anybody wants to change it, we're open for amendments. Otherwise, if there's no more discussion, we can vote on it. Hearing nothing, the motion is made and second to go to 125. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
All right.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion
Just keep it
carries.
simple. Long overdue.
Old business, district manager hiring process. Update.
I nominate Wanda.
Second.
All those
Do you
in
want me to
favor?
do that? Well,
We'll
good
strike
news
that
is,
motion.
Before I give you an update, the good news is we already had 3 applicants to qualify. We're
Oh,
way ahead of
cool.
last time.
Oh, it's the new posting?
For 1 week, we've already had 2
Okay.
applications, so.
Sounds.
what happened? Oh, I'm sorry.
So, so the first round, we had 2 qualified applicants, offered them both an interview. 1 accepted, 1 declined. We did the interview, but we just didn't feel it was compatible. So we reposted on last Wednesday, August 1st. It will be posted for a month. It closes on September 1st. And then on Thursday, September 16th, for Bill and Andy, we're planning on doing interviews that day because Lacey has to get it on her calendar. So that's the plan. Backup probably will be Friday. And then in September, I'll have a better timeline from there on. Because we had agreed as a committee that we were gonna do 2 interviews to get a better idea of the person. Lacey said that you get a better idea with 2 interviews. The first interview, they come really prepared. For the second interview, you can kind of judge a little bit better about their preparedness. So the next go around, we're gonna do 2 live interviews. The last one was live as well, and we're doing live this time as well.
When
So,
does the posting close?
It closes September 1st at 4 p.m.
Okay.
we'll be interviewing everybody twice, or,
Not,
It
it
depends.
depends on the first round,
yeah,
how we feel.
we could eliminate some.
Yep. And we have, Lacey and I took the questions that we had the first round, divided them into 2, and added a couple more to just to kind of even out the gist of the interview,
Okay.
so. That's about all I know on that.
Okay, Winona County Fair update?
Do you guys have any feedback for us?
Sorry about the broken plexiglass, that happened on my shift.
I thought that,
Some little kid hit it, went down and cracked the corner.
the time that I spent there was not very, I had really no interacting with people at all.
What day and hours were you there?
Oh, I was there Friday evening and Thursday evening,
I think the Lego model drew a lot of people in. And
Yeah, it sure did.
This year
That-
not having it, I didn't see near the people, come in. But I had actually a couple good conversations when I was there. I had two good conversations, and nothing that I think that, it really wasn't so project related. It was really, what do we do related? What are my tax dollars going towards? And just explaining to people what that was all about. I had some AIS questions that, like, I don't know. Asked me something about dirt. So, but I had 2 good conversations. But I would definitely say the traffic was down. There was still plenty of people, but just nothing, the draw in.
The buildings were emptier. That's one of the problems. They're not filling the spaces, so people aren't coming in. They look in and it's half empty.
So that was one suggestion the staff had, is we like to go to 3 spaces so we can have a room to do an interactive activity to draw people in and just feel more comfortable presenting ourselves.
But I was there the night of the trailer races. And there was so many people in the grandstand, they were turning them away. So there was people that were out,
That-
That was
would
the
help.
trick.
When I was there, again, traffic was down, I did have probably 4 people. Could have been more, but that display that we had, that cutout,
Mm-hmm.
they were quite intrigued about what's under the ground,
Mm-hmm.
That really was a big drop.
Yeah.
There was a fair amount of parents with little kids that walked up and said, "See how it works," and the little kids would sit there and look at it, and they take their finger and go down. So there was some of that,
Yeah.
Yeah.
There was one couple that came down from the cities. They're not part of that half a farm or whatever it is that the Mungs rent. They're real close to it, though. They came down specifically to see our booth. They had seen it, I don't know if it was on Lance's videos or where they had come in contact with our booth, but that's specifically why they came down to the fair. And I agree with the other guys. The participation at our booth was down and the other booths also, but I think the attendance at the fair was way up.
It was. Talking with Dean Sanders, he said he thought it was going to be a record year, actually. Record attendance, record all that. So it was, yeah. So.
For some reason, they're not being steered through the commercial buildings. I think filling the spaces would help.
And we had the smell of popcorn in our building. I thought that helped,
Yeah,
because a
we
lot of
did.
people come and grab that bag of popcorn from next door. I work Thursday night from 4 to 7, I believe. In that time, Keith Speltz come through, and then we were talking about the crimper, at our last meeting. He said he's more than willing to rent his out to anybody that wants it. And he says if we have any people questioning, the soil and water about availability of one, just to forward them to him and he would work with them to rent it. So I thought, well, that's a nice way of kind of,
We have one now,
we do.
Wabasha bought it. We put in some money. I don't know if it came out of our checkbook, but
Not as yet. I think all three counties are contributing now.
I don't know where that is on the agenda, so yeah.
Oh,
it'll be available for anybody in our area that wants it in our county.
It's like a 3-county.
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah.
okay.
So back to the fair. So in 2022, the fair is from July 6th to the 11th, and our board meeting is on the 14th. I find having the board meeting at the fair very distracting. I would prefer to have it here.
I agree.
Yeah, I don't see much advantage of having it there.
No.
I mean, Paul Schulmeyer was always to draw people in, but we're not drawing people in, so let's just have it here so we can hear each other.
I agree.
Sounds good.
So,
The other comment I had was, on the fair was, one was Rich Hall, and then there's another one from Wabasha County that stopped, and they were curious on where you could get cover crop signs, like what we had on display up there. I says, well, you should be able to get them from your county soil and water, but they didn't have at that time, and have them available anyway, so.
Which county?
Wabasha. So,
We get
You
some
said
more,
the
and then we get
fair was
upcharged a
the
little bit to make
6th.
some revenue, so. Well,
So-
I've had people from,
yeah.
I've given out a few, and some of them are down in Iowa. and some- But yeah, they're kind of attractive. Next time we make them
bigger,
it's big,
yeah,
but
so.
You said the fair was the 6th through the
11th.
11th, okay. I just put getting that in my phone.
Because we are making our presence known at the presentation now, so I think that is more valuable than having our board meeting there. Whereas we didn't used to do that before. It's only been 3-4 years we started doing that. So I think we're still having a good presence at doing something besides our.
Giving up the award.
Yeah.
So we'd still present the
Yep.
conservations
At the,
and
the,
Conservation.
scholarship,
we could probably still do that at that time too.
if they got room for us to do
Yeah.
it, I suppose, yeah. So we'd still be present there
Yeah.
then, that way. But yeah, at the meeting, other than us, I don't think there is, well, Paul was there with
Yeah.
donuts.
Yeah.
So,
But I mean, yeah, the first years, there was more people there. But yeah, it seems like during that meeting time, and again, other years we had noise and heat and everything, so
Yeah.
I agree with you 100% to have the meeting here.
so that's
Did
all I
it-
had on the fair.
Did any of the commissioners show up?
Just Marcia and I were there.
You and Marcia were there,
At the awards meeting. I
Yeah.
just won.
but not at the board meeting.
No, Marcia
He
wasn't.
was at the
I
board
don't know
meeting
if
for a little
Steve
bit.
was.
At your board meeting?
Yeah.
I was there, yeah.
At the
Yeah,
fair.
but
Yeah.
you had to leave early because you had the other meeting at
Yeah.
a certain time. Yeah, so,
Extension, so.
Yeah.
If you do it here next year, it'll be at 9 o'clock, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll have an 11 o'clock meeting at the fair, so whatever. You got, that's all good.
yeah, but if we had the meeting here, the meeting is it's after the fair.
Yeah, it
It
won't
won't
be
be
the
the
same
same
day.
That won't be during the fair.
Next year, our meeting falls after the fair anyway, so.
The following week after the fair.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That sounds fair.
Just couldn't wait to say that.
Okay. Anything else on the county fair?
No, that's it.
Okay. Aquatic invasive species,
So we were able to finish up Cedar Valley Creek this summer, and Cedar Valley Creek is a very nice stretch of stream. Didn't find anything until we got downstream of the golf course where we found rapidly pondweed. Didn't see anything that made us wonder or suspect any crayfish. We've been trapping crayfish out of Money Creek and along the mill dam there. So, yeah, so otherwise we've got a presentation from Joey here.
okay?
I'll have to move it for you, because you have to point at the back of it here. There you go.
Yeah, you can just start from the second slide.
Oh, sorry, I didn't realize it wasn't.
And yeah, it's just that.
Okay.
Yeah, so just this PowerPoint is just a little summary of what I've been doing this summer. I split it up into 3 areas. The water outreach, though I should probably say education, and then soil. The 2 big things with water were water sampling and AIS management. With outreach, like a lot of the community events, county fair, tune camp. And I suppose you can consider the soil health field day too, though I think that kind of fits a little bit into the soil section as well. And then with the soil, we did crop inspections, and Lance and I took a couple people on cover crop tours. Can you go to the next slide, please? So for the water sampling, I worked with Sheila Harms with the county planning environmental offices around here to do some water quality sampling of the Whitewater River, the north, middle, and south branch. And I went with them, I think about 5 times, 4 sites each, so that's about 20 different samples of the Whitewater River. We went to Lake Winona one day, at least I joined them one day. That was only 2 samples. And then with the Fillmore County SWCD and Nikki Wheeler, went out with her, I think 4 times, to take samples of the river. We also were doing like stream fields, edge of field stations and stream stations. So I think about 35 total different sites were sampled. Oh, 32, it says it on there. And all of these we were testing for things like E. coli, nitrates and phosphates for runoff, and total suspended solids, which is like, kind of like sediment getting in the water. Could you go to the next slide, please? So with our AIS, yeah, I spent the summer trapping rusty crayfish in mostly Money Creek and Pickwick Creek. In Money Creek, they've been moving upstream towards the headwaters, so they'll probably be there for a while, just because they're all the way up the stream. In Pickwick Creek, I think we caught 1 above the mill. We might have.
No.
You didn't?
Those ones were all released. They were all little.
Okay.
There was one smaller one that I'm pretty sure was viral.
Okay, so we caught, because there was 15 rusties I caught total over the summer. I think most of them were from the Pickwick Mill area. I mean, in that picture right there, there's like 1 crayfish missing, but we had 4 in 1 trap in 1 day, which is the most we had. Aside from that, though, for the aquatic invasive species, Amanda and I did stream monitoring. So we were at Cedar Creek, the Pickwick Creeks, I think Silver Creek, we did that one, right?
Yeah.
It was a little one. And then Corey Creek, I think, the first one we did was Corey Creek.
Did you find those in Corey Creek?
We did not.
No, but isn't Money Creek, doesn't that connect
Money
with Corey?
Creek and Corey Creek connect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think it would be a safe assumption that
There's a
there's
possibility.
a good
that they're there.
chance, yeah.
So do you figure they come up out of the root and then initially out of the Mississippi? Or?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think I'd have to.
They were likely used as bait at some point and released if they weren't used. So someone probably just was using them for bait. They've also been released in cases where, and I don't know specifically here, but classrooms will raise crayfish to study them, and at the end of the year they release them. Well, rusty crayfish are the most common ones to bring in for something like that. So sometimes raising your own crayfish and doing things like that. You can release them that way.
And then aside from that, I listened in on, I forgot the name of it, but a U of M professor kind of hosted a webinar on invasive carp in the Mississippi and some of the more modern management techniques. Something that might interest you guys actually is this professor was talking about how using the lock-in dams as a way to prevent them from moving upriver is probably the most cost-effective and effective solution. And they're looking at in between like lock and dams 4 and 5, which I think is like in this area, to kind of be the main gate to prevent them from moving north. So I thought that was kind of neat. Maybe something to, cooperate with other organizations on. But other than that, could you move to the next slide, please, Amanda?
Is is the big head carp, is that invasive?
Yeah, I don't think, at least from what I remember, like when I was doing a little bit of research, I think if it is called a carp, like if its common name has carp in it, it's not native to North America. Like big head carp, silver carp, green carp.
Or grass carp,
yeah.
black carp.
There was a post on Facebook, these two guys, this was down south quite a ways, that they were out fishing for carp using bow and arrow.
Really?
Yeah.
That's cool.
And they got one that's probably a record.
I saw that post.
Did you see that?
How big was it?
It's like 125, 150 pounds.
Something like that. It looked
That
like it
weighs
was like-
almost as much as I do. Oh my God.
It looked like it was 4 feet long or something.
It was,
What kind was that?
it was a big head.
It's pretty common up here though. There's a lot of john boats that go out with generators and lights and they bow hunt in the
Yeah,
backwaters
they
up
had a
here.
big
Yeah.
tournament.
Yeah,
And they-
yeah, very common. I know, I've got a bunch of friends that do that.
You said that
Get a
record
carp
carp is down
that
south.
big.
No, it'd be good when the
Mhm. It was
river's low, I
Missouri.
suppose.
Missouri?
Yeah, you can see them. You gotta get in the backwaters.
Just
to see
where
them.
did they catch that thing?
I don't remember exactly, but I know it was,
In
a
the
lot
water.
further south.
Yeah. Okay, so for the education and outreach, a lot of the stuff like had to do with like working with kids or educating kids. Right here in this photo is a tune camp, which it's hosted at Eagle Bluff Campground, and we basically had 2 kind of seminars. One that Amanda hosted where we talked about aquatic invasive species. What is an invasive species and how is it different from a native or a non-native? And then we took them out to the river to try to find some stuff, and then help them identify some of the little critters they found. Honestly, pretty interesting pull. Someone found a little smooth soft-shelled turtle. The kids seemed to enjoy it a lot. And then after that, Lance had a lecture on soil health, which I mostly just took pictures for that. And then, aside from Tune Camp, I helped prepare and set up the county fair booth and manned that for a little while. Did a lot of handing out bowers and prizes to kids with the logos on the stuff. I'd say with like the prizes, I probably gave out maybe, I'm gonna guess about 80, 80 different kids. A fraction of that, actually maybe like 10 kids were asking questions about the aquatic invasive species though, I was happy with the amount because the ones that were asking questions were pretty interested in it. Though I do think that I think the third booth is a good idea because I think some of the information is like so densely packed it might be overwhelming to people, and so if there were more space it might seem a little less overwhelming. And
You're
then,
talking about at the fair?
yeah, at the fair.
Okay.
I interviewed Eldon and Lila Salway about, I guess, like their history of their farm and how they got to where they were, and with the Conservationist Award. And then I wrote a press release for it. And did we send it to the St. Charles paper?
Yeah, we sent it to Winona Post in St. Charles.
Okay, okay. And then aside from that, for outreach, I've been helping manage the Facebook page. Could you go to the next slide? Thank you. And then for soil health, which is, I guess, a lot of what we did was outreach, but specifically about cover crops and no-till a little bit. Lance, on 2 separate occasions, took people out on the cover cropping tour. In this photo, on the left, those are 2 brothers from somewhere around like the Chippewa area that came down to learn more about cover cropping. And on the right, those two people worked with the La Crosse Conservation District. And then the other cover cropping tour we went on was, I think, the FFA kids from the Lewiston Altura High School. We did that in really early June, I think. And then there was a soil health field day, which, you know, that just happened. Really good turnout. I think that, I mean, I didn't do too much aside from just like directing parking and like putting down posts and whatnot. But it was just a good turnout. I think that was like a really good sign for any future events that people might plan on having here. I helped film a couple of YouTube videos that, you know, Lance posted on our page, and one of them he was with Bailey Tangen, who was a U of M grad student who ended up joining us on this cover crop tour in the photo on the right. And then I think with the FFA kids too, there's a video I filmed there, maybe two. And then a little bit more, Amanda and I inspected a couple of prep and ring easements. I don't know how many total, to be honest. I think about 5. And that I just kind of helped. I was the driver, so Amanda could kind of look at the areas and see what needed to do. A couple of properties were really, I mean, some of the prettiest areas I've ever seen in terms of prairie in my life. Like Mike and Linda Nelson, they do a really good job. A couple of other areas, I forgot the land, but had a lot of phragmites on it, so it's definitely going to need a burn. And then could you go to the next slide? Future plans for me, I do want to go to grad school at some point. I just think I need more specialized education for whatever I do want to do. And then I want to use my AmeriCorps Education Awards, because I had 2 of them. I did this last year as well, just for random certification training. I think HAZWOPER, which is hazardous wastes, and like how to clean that up, and EMS training. So like that would interest me a lot, just because I think those are generally good things to know, even if I don't work in those fields. I'd just like to try to find more experience in the conservation, environmental, sustainability field. I have applied to an internship with the Office of Environmental Planning in Winona County, so hopefully I get that internship, working with Kay and Sheila and Megan. Long-term goals, though, are just to live around in the Driftless area in Winona or La Crosse. This is, I think, one of my favorite places on the planet. Very beautiful area. And I really appreciate the opportunity you guys gave me, and thank you for it. And that's my presentation. If you guys have any questions, let me know. But
Thank you.
In that water sampling, Amanda, that they did in the Whitewater, what happens to the results?
That was with Sheila.
yeah, so they send it up to some lab in either St. Cloud or St. Paul, and then, at least I guess I don't know specifically with Sheila's office, if it works like the Fillmore County SWCD, after I think it's either 6 months or a year, they conglomerate all of the samples taken and then like send like a sheet that has all the data on it. Which when I found that out kind of disappointed me, because it was like I'd like to find out that stuff in real time, I guess, or
Yeah.
you know, sooner than a year, but I guess that's how it works.
Well, we want to thank you for spending your summer with us.
Yeah, I did. I really appreciate the opportunity, guys. Thank you.
You did good work, Joe. Thank you.
Okay. Soil Health Day. Lance, you wanna?
Yeah. So I guess the first thing, I have some pictures, but we'll show those second. So I don't know if you have one of these. So if you find this one, I know Jerry was there, and Bill, or Andy was there, but so yeah, we put together a pretty good deal, pretty good show. This was one of the packets, so we had 2 roller crimpers on site, and so we just were able to kind of make some points about some of the pros and cons to using it. So we put that on the sheet so people have something to take home. You know, highboy cedar, we had a friend from over by Rochester that actually ran his highboy through the standing corn. And then a lot of people were interested in that drone cedar. So Gave a shout out to Mike and Dave Unruh, obviously it was their farm. Also visited Sheldon's, just here north of town. And then Heinz Roth, who was our dairy farmer who came from Merrill, and he definitely got people a little bit challenged, and that was good. So 500 cows, I think I told this to Bill, but hasn't grown alfalfa in 5 years, doesn't plan to grow it ever again because he just keeps losing it to winter kill every other year. So he's been growing cocktail cover crop mixes, loves it, gets 5 cuttings, and then grows corn silage, BMR corn silage. So definitely had some attention with that. And Dailies were there, and Miller's, and I think there was a couple other bigger ones from west of us too. So, and then the backside, you can kind of see we put together just a list of the equipment. So, and then who owns it and their phone numbers, even though we had signs out there with the same stuff. But just, the whole networking thing and being able to find equipment, that's oftentimes kind of a big reason or maybe an excuse that we don't have it. But then we have people like Mike and Dave that are going whole hog and, buying the equipment and doing custom work with it. So, so that was very helpful. The sponsors, we had a lot of them, 20 some of them. I told the guys if we're going to do this for free, which was their idea, that we had to get some money. So I went to bat and batted pretty hard. And not just across the Midwest, but Great Plains as well. So yeah, and then the local sponsors obviously were huge. Dailies helped me out in a pinch, I'll be honest. We planned or hoped for 100 people. So we set a budget. And then when you get to 150 the week before, RSVP'd, you start figuring you better make a plan B. So I called Ben and a couple others, and thankfully they were able to step in and cover some money. So because we were kind of in a little bit of a tight spot.
It went well above the 150 though too, didn't it?
Yeah, we were at like 220 RSVP'd, and so about 240 is what we had figured. So that came.
That was quite a crowd.
5 states. So Wanda asked me to kind of tell you a little bit. So we actually ran all the finances through Unruh cover cropping. That kept us less work for us, and I just kind of told Mike, hey, just do this. You're going to get some more attention that way. Just it's cleaner. So that was very helpful. We had it cost us about $10,000 to put it on. With the meal, we used. We also prioritized using Frickson's, Andy Frickson and Darien, where actually my neighbors would use their pork for the meal, which cost us a little bit more, but again, trying to keep this local. So, and we did not have a lot of speaker fees, so I'm having to pay Heinz a little bit for his hotel and a little bit of stipend, but normally you have a couple $1,000s to bring in a pretty decent speaker, so we kept things relatively cheap in my opinion. So to bring 240 people to Winona County for 10 grand for this type of thing was pretty good. So, let's see, I don't know if you want to throw some of those pictures up. We can kind of look at those. I know Gary and Andy saw these, so or were there.
41 bucks a piece.
While she's doing that, we did actually award. So the cover crop tour, you guys have heard a little bit about that. So actually Nick Loken's son, Connor, I talked to his dad and kind of told him, hey, could you come, bring your son, but don't tell him why. And so then I kind of surprised him and had him come up, and then I gave him the $50 gift card for the tour. So when kids went, they took pictures. And then we also had shirts made and gave all the kids shirts as well. Kind of just a nice touch for them being there. Granted, about a third of the kids were mine, but that's just how it goes sometimes. So yeah, that Rantizo's, that's the drone company that sprays, but also applies cover crop seeds. So people were very intrigued by that. Go ahead.
Question: was he seeding with the drone?
Yeah.
You couldn't
Yeah.
see any seed coming out. It must be the tiny.
Yeah, it's only at 10 pounds.
Uh-huh.
And they're going on, I don't know, what is it, 20-foot you know, back and forth paths, because it doesn't have a huge, you know, they're really working with their prop wash on their props, so. Yeah, that is one of the drawbacks. It can't seat super, it doesn't have a huge capacity. I think it holds 30 pounds at all, and that's about it, but.
I thought it was 9.
Well, yeah, he's seating at 9, that's right, but I think he can hold, I think he can do 25 or 30 pounds.
Oh, in the,
Yeah.
okay.
The idea is to like do what they call a swarm, so they have 3 or 4 of them that are constantly flying and refilling all by themselves, so,
Yeah, he said with 3 of them, you can do 45 acres an hour,
yeah.
so.
And it was ironic because where Mike picked, I let him pick which fields he wanted to do this all on. You know, this big highland. And we didn't pick that, but guess what? The drone was zipping underneath it, and you wouldn't obviously seat it with anything helicopter, airplane on those sites, but highball you could. But so anyway, that had a lot of interest. A lot of people told me that's what they came to see. So. Here's one of the roller crimpers. This is actually the roller that Mike and Dave used across the road, and that's the field we went and looked at. Nice design. This one is about 18, almost 19 grand.
I passed that going down the highway that day.
Did you? Yeah. So SEMA owns this. They actually bought this and they let us demo it for free this year. Took a little arm cranking, but I'm good with that. So this is a nice design. It, you know, it pivots 90 degrees and running gear comes up. The only not so good thing is when you turn around, those 3.5-inch fins are digging in. You know, when you make that 90, so unless you got big fields that you can just go around and around and around, which we kind of saw some of that. So,
Whenever you turn, you're taking the corn out.
this is for beans. So the beans would be still pretty small. They came back halfway decent on those edges, but you know.
So how come they didn't crimp before they planted? I know some people do.
Yeah, because they want the beans to get get germinated and emerged, get up a little bit, and there's not much risk of hurting them until they're second trifoliate. So a lot of the organic guys do plant like a day or 2 before they crimp, but these guys planted and waited, I think, 2 weeks. So
This is all kind of an experimental
yeah,
stage anyway, and this is their first time doing it.
and they were really honest about that. I mean,
Yeah,
it said, you know, and we did have a gal from UW-Madison that she's done a lot of this. She kind of helped present with them or kind of field questions. So go to
No.
Yep, go ahead.
Why can't they pick it up when they turn around?
Time.
You would think so. I mean, the other one you can, the I&J you can, because that's 3-point mounted.
3-point, yeah.
I think if they refigured their design and had a different set of hydraulic ramp, you know, they could probably, but, you know, this is a kind of a moving, you know.
Yeah, I know,
but-
there's advantages into keeping
Yeah.
it moving.
Yeah, so, and I mean, they make these things, I've got a friend that runs a 60-footer, you know, they're different sections, but, you know, they make them big, so. So go ahead, so this is right in the front yard. This is actually Mike Unruh's, he just bought this spinner spreader. So this is gonna be used, he has some very big plans for it, as another way to get cover crop out there, especially in front of dairies that wanna inject manure and things like that. So he didn't tell me the price on it, but I have a feeling I know what it's about. So this, actually, we just took it off the pallet the day before. So it has not been used, but they used a similar one. Root River Soil and Water Houston actually has a smaller version of that, and that's what Sheldon and Mike used on their corn this spring. So go to the next one, please. This is just the inline, like basically a roller crimper, but it's by the row. So this is the Dawn Equipment makes this. So I had a friend, Lauren Steinlag, he out of Northeast Iowa, he brought this up. So just, you know, stuff that's, you know, those I have sharp edges actually. You know, they're not just a crimper, but they actually cut
it.
So people will run this especially in the organic world, they can terminate clover pretty easily with this. 2 passes. So, you know, for like an organic no-till corn situation, if you have a decent stand of clover for your nitrogen. So that's just one thing. Drew some people. So next, please. My buddy Joe you know, Joe took the corn detasseler in the background, made it into bought it in Ontario, brought it to his shop. He loves fabricating. He runs about 500 acres, about half organic, and so we had him run the corn right there, and we did a video, of course. So Joe and I have become pretty tight buds, so we've done a couple videos over the last 3 years. So
It's one of them for sale down in Iowa.
yeah, well,
Guy,
it might be interesting.
guy converted it.
This is a cheap man's Hagee, so like quite cheap compared to what a Hagee costs. So had to get a low boy in to haul it. So worked with Nate Reps to actually paid him $500 to go over to Rochester because it's too tall to haul on a normal flatbed. So you know you got to get innovative to get stuff that you want. So go ahead. There's one of the drones. This is a seeding drone that we had on display. Go ahead. That's at the seating spot. So we split the group in two, even though we probably could have split it in three, but yep, that's, go ahead, one more. I think this is just across the field driveway with the roller crimp beams on the other side. So that's Mike and Sheldon. They're kind of on the right side. And that Leia gal from UW. Go ahead. We put everybody together and let Joe, he's sitting up there by the slow moving sign, gave his spiel, and then he ran the corn. So, and I did make sure to ask him if he runs over a corn plant once in a while, and he obviously does, so it's kind of an inside joke. But 800 foot of tubing on that machine, so that's a lot of, you know, finesse and figuring things out. Go ahead.
So can you put on like fungicide in that with that, or
No, this is just dry.
just seed?
Just seed, yeah. No drop tubes. He just has deflectors, those little things hanging off the bottom, just deflect the seed. So this is Mike and Sheldon and I, and then these couple folks, they're friends of mine from Central Iowa that came up, and so it's just, we made the big banner behind it with all the sponsors on it, and Mike is pretty proud to keep that in his shed. So go ahead. That's Lauren Steinlage from Northeast Iowa, who's quite well known for a lot of this innovation. Go ahead. And these guys are actually from a watershed group way down kind of between Madison and Milwaukee that came up for it. So I've spoken with Tony, the guy in the middle, a few times. So and I think that's pretty much, I think there's no more of that. Oh, here's the t-shirts that we had made. It says, "Are you covered?" on the front, and then the "Don't Farm Naked, Plant Cover Crops" on the back. That is Practical Farmers of Iowa, kind of they've been known for that. They've had thousands of shirts and stuff made, but so I actually asked their permission to use it. So that is pretty much it. We did big door prizes, so instead of just giving away the traditional hat or t-shirt, we gave away, Mike donated $250 worth of seed. We got a $100 Fleet Farm gift card, and then because we're not just looking at the above ground and the crops, we gave a shovel away to help people think about soil health, not just crops, agronomy, and what we see. So that was one of the flyers. So yep, that's kind of what I.
So the corn that you crimped this spring and beans, how do they look now? Have you seen fields of that?
Well, you can ask Andy. He was there.
Other than that one spot where they turned a few times, you couldn't tell that there was a cover cropping underneath. I did see one velvet leaf. He made a comment that that's the only thing that's come up so far. He has no chemical on it whatsoever, and you could see just one velvet leaf is all I saw out there. But he did use enlist, so in case he had to, he could go in and spray.
Yeah, actually, it was just glyphosate. He said enlist, but I asked him later. I said, "You didn't use enlist?" He said, "No, I didn't. That was on my other fields."
Okay.
Yeah.
So, but
They
no,
didn't put on any additional nitrogen or anything?
No.
no. This is for the beans.
Oh, what about corn?
They didn't use it.
They didn't.
They didn't do nothing in corn with the
Oh,
crimper, as far as I know.
okay.
Like I say, they're experimenting and
Yeah.
doing trial by error, and
The roller crimper has actually been a 20-year experiment. It's been
Yeah.
around a very long time. And like I said, what I've seen in 20 years of being in the industry is about 2 in 10. Something horribly goes wrong, and the other 8 years is usually pretty good. And you just got to make sure that you're ready for that. The organic guys don't have quite the ability to recover from not getting it crimped right or on time, or it was too wet and I couldn't get it in, you know. The conventional guys have a little more of a scapegoat because, you know, they can come in and always use a herbicide for weed control if need be. So there's always a risk associated to it, and it's been tried, but the equipment's gotten a lot better since the early 2000s when this thing kind of started to break surface. And I've seen some absolute failures, and I've seen some really good successes over the years. So what I like is that it's years ago, you couldn't even get a conventional person to even have this conversation, and let alone the organic guys that were trying to do it for weed suppression and control. And some people saying, well, I'll never do that again. And some people saying that worked pretty good. So that was an onward. And then it kind of died out for a little while. And a lot of that, I think, was due to weather patterns. And now we're seeing it come back through better education, better equipment, access to equipment, timing, understanding it, things like that. So it's an old practice trying to be reinvented with today's knowledge. So.
And again, Lance, I want to thank you on behalf of the board here on all the effort you put into this, because I was really impressed. One guy come walking into the area and he says, this is just like the State Fair used to be with all the equipment displays that they had on. I mean, it was really impressive. And the local vendors, like John Deere brung over, I don't know, I didn't even count how big it was, 12 or 16 row planter behind the tractor, no tail, I assume.
Yeah.
And things like that. So the vendors were, to me, they showed that they're eager to supply the equipment for this stuff, that when people want to try it or do it, that they're ready to help them with the machinery.
Yeah, Hommel brought in a 30-foot no-till drill, brand new one. And
Yeah.
I will say one point that was kind of ironic was that there was not a single local agronomist, besides there was one from Midwest BioAg, but there was no one from Ag Partners, Elba, you fill in the blank, or anybody from a local feed supply or mill, even though they all got the invites. So out of 250 people to have, you know, maybe a guy like Josh or Josh's counterpart, there's the tension, or there's the opportunity, maybe you would say. So.
There was a few bankers there.
Well, a couple bankers had money on the deal.
Yeah, I know,
They
but-
invested, but yeah, there was 3 or 4 banks there. But we actually intentionally went out and talked to where Mike and Sheldon have accounts and said, put your money where your mouth is and then get here. So.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah, so.
I was just saying that when you have that many people come from 5 states and you can't get your local agronomists there, that says something. And that's probably all we need to say, but, you know.
Okay, moving on to reports. Winona County, Steve?
Yeah, on Tuesday, the county board approved a $425,000 grant application for Healthy Lake Winona, and like the city, to the city of Winona, and the city has to chip in another $25,000, bringing it up to $475 on the project. I did ask them if they've been in contact with the SWCD at all, and it sounds like they haven't. They're not seeking out really your advice on the project, from what I could tell. I encouraged them to, and I know Josh has been concerned in the past about the use of alum that they're talking about. I think for carp suppression. I'm not sure. I don't understand it all. But I encouraged them to reach out to SWCD here and get your advice before they, or in conjunction with their master plan here on how they're going to try to reduce some of those pollutant loads in Lake Winona. Isn't too much else that's relates to your board here. Of course, we're dealing with the ARP funds, the bridges in the area. This mask mandate has been a big issue that we've been dealing with locally. So unless you have questions on any of that, that's probably mostly what I have. So jail, of course, working on that.
I do have a question, Steve. The managers, SWCD managers are having a meeting to talk about how counties are funding for letting SWCDs have access to their funds. Do you have any idea what your plans are for us? For the American Recovery COVID funds?
The county board is, we haven't discussed anything at this point. We just have been in contact with the administrator. We know the money's coming. We haven't got to discussion on it. I will certainly encourage those funds. A couple of the thoughts I've had, it can be used for infrastructure. At this point, what I know is it can be used for like any sewage issues, broadband, infrastructure. So my first thoughts were bathrooms at the fair, St. Charles, any sewer extensions they might need. Anything I can do to get the money outside of the city of Winona, come to me and I'll push for it. So anything that, if it can be used for the SWCDs, yeah. I know like townships are talking about any of their town halls that need air exchangers, anything like that, that's part of infrastructure. So I don't know what your needs are that would qualify. It might be some computer stuff, things like that. But you have to be, we all need to be paying attention to what these funds can be used for, and then kind of be creative. And it's a tough spot for me because I'm not a tax and spend guy, but if we don't spend this money locally, the federal government's saying we're spending it, period. So I guess my job becomes try to figure out how to spend it here. So I'll work with you. We'll stay in contact on what it can be used for and be as creative within the guidelines as we can. So.
Do you know what the time frame is for it coming?
It's not like this last deal where it was fast. I think it might be like up to 48 months to implement the use of it. So, I mean, it's not, this last round was, we knew 1 month and like 2 months later you had to have it all spent. This is ridiculously, and so, you know, that seems like it would lead to more waste than if you can plan for it better. So it's not gonna be on the time frame as we saw with the first round.
And then we were a little busy on Tuesday, but what's the update on the county administrator?
Yeah, so we tabled that, so the county administrator is retiring at the end of this year, so we've got 5 months there yet, where he'll still be with us. And, you know, I don't know that we'll try to have someone in place by the time he leaves, or whether we'll be, last time we went, I think like 6 months with just utilizing the assistant county administrator as the acting county administrator for that time. So sad to see him go. He served us for 6 years, and I think the county really benefited from Ken Fitz's expertise and knowledge. So it'd be sad to see him go, but we haven't discussed it yet.
That's all.
Okay. Did Kay send anything?
Okay, did send an update.
Sheila?
Lance is gonna give you an update on the roller camper.
Yeah, so we kind of, I know you guys have been in discussions about it the last meeting, or maybe it was 2 meetings ago? Last meeting. And so Juan and I kind of discussed a little bit with everything else going on here, and just trying to, with her assuming all the manager position duties. So I actually approached Sheila and Terry at Wabasha and said, is this something you would like to just consider, take off our plate? And so they did that. They had a bunch of questions, so I talked directly with 2 of their board members, or Lynn Zabel, I guess that was the main one, but then emailed all of them, and they worked through some of the, storage and how we're gonna make this work, how they're gonna pay for it. And then they actually had a board meeting special meeting on Monday to go through it and actually approve it. So they approved buying it logistical comes in of where do we store it. The idea is somewhere hopefully around Alba, somewhere up in that corner so that it's geographically available.
How big is it?
It's a 16-footer, so it's a
3-point mound or?
3-point, yeah. It's not, we had Keith Speltz is actually at the field day. It's the same manufacturer, it's a little bigger drum, but it's used. I had been quoted last year on a new one for like 7,500, and now they're over 10. So we got a used one.
Talk to me, I might be able to help you out with the storage.
Okay. Yeah. So that's kind of the update. Then 2 of the Soil and Water Board members from Wabash came actually to the field day, and
I can call Lynn too, because we sit on the Whitewater Joint Power Board
Yeah.
together, so I can talk to him about it. So we have a meeting.
That's kind of the update there. I got a acquaintance of mine from South Dakota. We ended up paying $6,000 for it. It's 1 year old. It's got like 200 acres on it. So pretty fair price, I would say, for what they're going for now.
So will that be pick up and take it back, or will they have somebody delivering?
Yeah, so we discussed not involving staff time or fuel or truck wear. So it'll be them picking up, kind of like the no-till drills and things like that are available in other counties, people pick it up, use it. We're a little bit of an anomaly that way, where we have a private subcontractor that actually delivers it and goes through with it. So, yeah.
Sue send anything? Okay. Bill, Joint Powers Board?
Yeah, we had our meeting on July 29th and went over the old business. They spent about a little over, well, 1.02 million on projects. 240 was technical assistance, and 1.1 million was matched by equip and landowners. So the total grant was 2.4 million. We talked about some of the projects, that they were doing and stuff. Let's see, what else? New business, I can't remember what PAR review, 2021 PAR summary.
It was how the staff spend their time.
Okay, and reviewed the profit and loss report, action on committee recommendations for fiscal year of 2022, including proposed dues. And then soil health grant extension. Laura Christensen from Fillmore gave a report on that. They authorized Smith and Schaefer for their audit. Let's see, what else here? Authorized JPB secretary to sign grant final finance reports. Consider directions on joint power board personnel policy updates with personnel committee, and if discussed, fall committee schedules.
All business.
Adam gave some Bowser updates. GPL staff talked about workload projects and equipment and technical training. So, that was about it for that.
Okay, you wanna do Winlac right
I
away?
just have a couple
Oh.
comments. They do expect the dues to stay at 3,000, but Delane and Bo have really done a good job of getting their records in check
Yeah.
and presented, and I think only good things are gonna happen moving forward as to their finances. I was very impressed.
Yeah. Yeah, it's, the record keeping was not quite up to par.
No,
So, yeah, Winlac, we approved well, it's gonna, our consulting is Houston Engineering. Yeah, that's not from Houston, Minnesota. It's up in the cities. Actually, they got 5 different offices around the country. And they come to an agreement on what they'll be paid, which is $172,912. And we discussed, we reviewed and approved the advisory committee, which is quite large. So, we got all of this. And we added Josh to the agriculture part of it. I think you were.
For the advisory committee?
For the advisory committee. You were notified on that.
Notified and asked. I don't know if I was notified whether I was gonna be on it or asked if I was gonna be on it.
I think you're asked.
I was asked, yeah.
Yeah.
I was urgently or strongly recommended to, I don't know how that worked.
Well,
No,
I'm the one who recommended.
I
yes,
know you
so-
did. Well, there was a little bit of a discussion because of sitting on this board,
Yeah,
and how that would look to the ag advisory, and kind of what I do for a living and all these
Right.
different things. And so, it was just, it's like everything else. You just play the part that you're in.
right,
So,
yeah. Got that figured out. So we approved that committee.
when do we meet first on that? I haven't seen anything in that.
I don't know.
I don't think there was a day specifically
I don't
set
think
yet.
I don't think so. We discussed and considered a logo for Winlac planning area. And the logo is in the shape of a water drop. Wished I had a picture to show you, but Sheila had difficulty forwarding, the agenda and what else, whatever else. And she felt that it was because of the large document of the minutes of the last meeting.
I don't know why some would get it and some didn't.
Yeah, I got it.
Yeah,
You got it, I didn't get it, yeah.
I didn't.
So anyway, it's in the shape of a water drop, and if you can picture in the background, the bluffs with Sugarloaf, and then below that, picture of a field, and like there's, like I said, there's 3 different kinds. The one that I was drawn to was the one that had the field, and then there was a picture of a cow and a corn plant there. And then on the lower left-hand side, there's a picture of a pretty good-sized brown trout. So they're gonna be, tweaking that a little bit. There was some suggestions on, maybe how we could change that just a little bit to maybe highlight the agriculture area a little bit. I said, well, we've got, Winona's about 20. We'll look at the mission statement and say, oh, that's why we're doing this. So, anyway, well, we talked about surveys at the fair, which weren't many. So, we are water, City of Winona's statement of interest. This meeting was the first one since I've been on where we could meet in public. And we met at Commissioner's room. And there was 3 of us there.
Cool.
So, and we still did Zoom also. Other than that, if you got anything else,
If you got it all.
okay.
Okay. Jerry, you got anything to bring
We've
up?
had no meetings, so
Okay.
nothing to report.
Leo? Josh? Okay. Wanda? Your new position? Report?
Still alive. I did really good the first week. I didn't hardly call Daryl at all, but I said, really, Daryl, did we really have this many issues when you were here? I'm like, I think I've had every question in the last 2 weeks that I could possibly have to deal with. All the way from egg BMP to, we've had a ton of emails about projects that like come out of the woodwork. I'm like, yeah. So, but we're doing her. So now that we have our major events, Daryl's retirement and Soil Health Day over, hopefully we can go into a calm state and get a new normal for a while. And so for that, we did not have staff reports because we were all just a little overwhelmed. But we would like your input on if they're of value to you or what's your thoughts?
Oh, how much time does it take to put them on? Do you do that, or?
Well, everybody does their own, but I personally don't.
We
Right
didn't
now
do
I
it
have
for the
time.
last one, this meeting, did you miss
Yeah.
them?
Yeah.
Probably not. We made an executive decision. Something else.
Well, I've questioned it in the past that, to me, it almost looks like we're trying to micromanage your time, that you gotta fill out a timesheet on everything that you've done. I don't personally think it's necessary. That's my opinion. I mean, I trust you guys are doing your job. Everything seems to be flowing good. Even when Daryl was here, everything, like I say, I questioned it before, but that's my opinion.
I think maybe we should leave that decision up to staff. I mean, if they have something that they feel
Wanna share?
they need to share,
It's a good plan.
share.
Yeah, I mean, that comes out in like the report now.
Right.
I mean, I hope we got a working relationship that if there's something you guys want to tell us about that you're excited about, you feel free to do so. And we'll probably get more out of that, because how many of you guys read that report every month? I mean, I sometimes
actually-
glance at it, but I don't.
I actually read, I just skim it over and see what was going on, just so I'm up to date when I get here, so I know what's happening.
Yeah.
I actually do.
Make
so,
it more
but
intentional to share more
I don't
here.
necessarily
Maybe
know
try
if
and
it's
share it anyway.
necessary.
Yeah,
So, yeah.
but,
Actually, that's usually what I would quick look at before the meetings, because then I know typically what's done, and I'm kind of like, oh yeah, this project or that project or whatever it is. It was my 30-second overview. But I don't think it's necessary for the amount of time to fill in, for what I had used it for, so.
And maybe once we get a, new manager in place and he or she's got some
Maybe they want it
time
done,
under
maybe
his,
they don't.
time under their belts, maybe they'd want.
I'm not saying they weren't useful, because I think they were useful, but, I mean, if there's a considerable amount of time to do it, it is what it is. I don't want you to think you've been doing it all these years in vain either. I mean, like I said, that was usually my skim shot of what happened for the month, which was kind of nice. I didn't read it line for line and give myself a quiz when I was done, so, but I actually kind of liked them, so.
I guess my suggestion is, while we don't have a director or manager, whatever you want to call them, you guys all have extra loads put on you, that this is one thing that we can relieve you of, at least for the time being. And if we feel, we discuss it after we get the new manager.
Let the new manager decide if that's something he needs to get on board with what's happening and
Yeah.
whatever.
Okay, sounds good. I agree.
Josh, you got anything else to bring up? Okay.
So that's okay. And if it's okay to keep recording, it just makes it easier to go back and if I have to look something up or whatever.
Yep.
Sounds good.
So you got more, or, okay. Okay, it's no use me reading through all these things, you guys can all look at them.
Yep.
I guess it's time for a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.